Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big story tonight is still about the missing Sabongeros, a story of twists and turns. Now the self-proclaimed whistleblower and even the Justice Secretary are noting police officers allegedly involved in the case were also tagged in supposed killings during the Duterte drug war. Coincidence or connection?
And another story we're watching is damaged reefs near Pagasa Island, which Manila says was Beijing's doing. Now the Philippines wants China to pay more than 11 million pesos in environmental damages for it.
And rental rates across central business districts in Metro Manila are plunging, with the Bay Area in Pasay losing half of its value. This is still in the aftermath of the pandemic and the departure of offshore gaming companies or POGOs.
Itong mga tao na to, yung taga-Ligpit, sila rin yung kumukuha ng mga drug lord.
May mga taong parehong involved sa pagpatay ng tao sa drug war at sa isabo. We will have to establish clearer links to each other.
Another bombshell from the suspect who wants to turn state witness in the missing Sabongeros case. Julie Patidongan alias Totoy just named high-ranking police officials allegedly involved in the crime. What's more interesting is these uniformed gentlemen were at some point also tagged in killings during the Duterte drug war. Mobile Journal Evan Tarinque with tonight's big story.
As promised, self-proclaimed whistleblower Julie Dondon Patidongan alias Totoy finally revealed the names of 12 policemen he claims to be involved in the case of disappeared Sabongeros. The biggest of whom, former PNP officer in charge Lieutenant General Vicente Danao, retired Police Lieutenant General Jonel Estomo, who was once NCRPO chief, and Brigadier General Elizar Mata, who was at the start of the year was reassigned to the Highway Patrol Group from the Police Force's Drug Enforcement Group. Patidongan alleged that Estomo even threatened to kill him when he went public with his testimony on the missing cockfight enthusiasts.
Si General Estomo, siya ay membro ng ALPA. Ngayon, yan si General Estomo, isa yan na nag-udyok kay Mr. Atong-ang na boss, patayin mo na si Dondon Patidongan. Kasama siya sa hatian na tag 70 milyon.
The other police officers tagged by alias Totoy are Colonel Jacinto Malinaw Jr., Lieutenant Colonel Ryan J. Orapa, Major Mark Philip Almedilla, Executive Master Sergeant Ezra Cabillan, Chief Master Sergeant Arturo de la Cruz Jr., Staff Master Sergeants Joey Encarnacion, Mark Anthony Manrique, and Anderson Abale, and Staff Sergeant Alfredo Andres. Patidongan claimed that Orapa was among those who received 2 million pesos a month to bring together policemen that will carry out the killings of Sabongeros and master agents deemed erring by bosses from Manila Arena and AA Sibra Farm in Santa Cruz, Laguna. These uniformed personnel were also the ones who supposedly disposed of Sabongeros' body in Taal Lake. According to Patidongan, these policemen were also involved in the Duterte administration's drug war.
Itong mga tao na to, yung taga-Ligpit, sila rin yung kumukuha ng mga drug lord.
Patidongan has formalized his charges against the 12 at the central office of the National Police Commission in Quezon City. The suspect who wants to turn state witness says he could name more officers in the coming days.
12 lang yung active, yung iba nito retired at saka dismiss. Hindi ako nagkakamali, nasa 30 to.
With Patidongan's testimony as basis, the commission says the policemen can be liable of administrative cases for grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer. If proven true, this would warrant their dismissal. Though the mood is somber, victim's family gathered to celebrate the 76th birthday of Carmelita Lasco, mother of Master Agent Ricardo, who went missing 4 years ago in Laguna. Her only birthday wish is for justice to finally prevail.
Masakit sa isang magulang ang ganitong ginagawa ng mga taong mga may pera, binibili ang tao. Talagang hinihingi ko sa Panginoon na bago man lang ako pumikit, mabigyan ng hustisya yung aking anak. Ay, lahat kami.
Patidongan was emotional in greeting Mrs. Lasco, while he admitted being part of the grand scheme that resulted in the disappearance of dozens of sabungeros. Alias Totoy hopes the long arm of the law would finally catch up with the perpetrators of what he called unimaginable crime.
Una, pasalamat ako sa Panginoon na hanggang ngayon, buhay pa ako. Salamat sa mga kamag-anak na nandito ngayon, lalo na sa social media, sa ating mahal na Pangulo, sa SOJ, Crispin Remulla, sir, sa ating PNP chief, na siya ang nagpalakas loob para ako lumantad dahil alam ko siya lang yung tao na hindi kayang bayaran ni Mr. Atungang.
Justisya para sa miling Sabongeros! Justisya!
And now that Patidongan has named policemen who were also allegedly involved in the Duterte drug war, some of the victims' kin also wants the former president and his official investigated for supposedly covering up the crime.
Prior sa paglabas ng ating whistleblower, natutulog tong kasong to. So isang significant aspect yon na walang pag-usad yung kaso.
Relatives of missing Sabongeros also plead, do not stop search operations in Taal Lake until all the missing Sabongeros are accounted for. Mobile Journal Ivan Tarinque, we are One News.
After 2 straight days of finding bone-laden sacks at the bottom of Taal Lake, Coast Guard divers have yet to find more. Diving was suspended earlier today after the search yielded no new discovery. Still some good news though. The remote-operated vehicle, or ROV, which can take underwater pictures and videos, arrived at the command center in Taal. This will be used to help scour Taal's lake bed and also minimize dive time for PCG personnel. As for the recovered bones, the PNP says the sacks contained a mix of animal and human bones. These evidence are currently undergoing further examination to distinguish one from the other. At least 12 relatives of the missing Sabongeros have submitted DNA samples to serve as basis for identification.
Ang Taal ay farming yan. So, andyan na lahat na makikita natin. May mga na-recover na mga animal remains, may human, at mix na ang ating mga tinitingnan ngayon na mga, kaya kasama sa ating processing dyan, ang pag-differentiate kung ito ba ay animal origin or human origin.
So we are just waiting for the official result to be issued by the forensic group kung may magmamatch po dito sa mga possible human remains na nakuha po natin.
The NBI has also been tapped to help on the forensic side of the investigation, particularly on DNA analysis and forensic chemistry.
Last week po, ang service namin received an order from Director Santiago, the NBI Director, telling us to coordinate with the Department of Justice. Pinapunta po nila kami sa site last Friday. Ang order po sa amin is to provide for forensic assistance. So, yun po ang binigay namin. Marami pong nagtatanong kung meron ba po kaming hawak na evidence. To date po, wala pa pong pinapadala sa amin. Nasa amin po ang DNA, forensic chemistry, question documents, yung mga nagpo-forge na signature. Amin din po yung dactyloscopy, yung fingerprints. Sa amin din po ang medical legals.
Despite today's negative turnout from the ongoing search in Taal Lake, Justice Secretary Boying Remulla says the earlier retrieval of bones has given more weight to Julie Patidongan's statements. However, Remulla said that lake conditions remain complicated in the search for more remains. The Justice Chief expects to meet again with Patidongan this week to clarify key details of the case. Downplayed criticism that the recovered sacks may have been planted. He said that the DOJ is considering bringing forensic pathologist Dr. Raquel Fortun into the investigation.
Tumitibay naman. At talagang hindi lang ganun kadali yung panahon pa ngayon. Tsaka nakita nyo naman yung mga nakuha nyong video, malabo talaga ang tubig, hindi ganun kadali maghanap. Pero, we will persevere.
Remulla was also asked if police involved in the missing Sabongeros case were the same ones during former President Rodrigo Duterte's drug war. The Justice Secretary did not want to speculate this early.
I think that the death squads might intersect more on the death squads. The people who undertake the contractual killings may intersect somehow with the drug war and with the isabong. Same, may mga taong parehong involved sa pagpatay ng tao sa drug war at sa isabong. That's as far as we can trace right now, but we will have to establish clearer links to each other.
Remulla also refused to comment further on PCSO Chairman Felix Reyes, who was also implicated by Patidongan. The Justice Secretary said he is leaving this issue to the Supreme Court.
I didn't mention any names. If the names came from somewhere else, I don't know. And I have nothing to say about that. Ang sinasabi ko lang talaga dati, pinadala ko na yung aking prueba sa Korte Suprema, and they're acting on their own.
Now, in other news, the Bangko Sentral is tightening control over online gambling payments amid concerns about minors and vulnerable users having access to these platforms. In a draft circular, the BSP orders banks, e-wallets, and other payment service providers, or PSPs, to add daily spending caps, time limits, and biometric verification. Under the same guidelines, PSPs must create a separate online gambling transaction account, or OGTA, with transfers capped at 20% of the user's average daily balance. Users may access the account for only 6 hours a day, with a 24-hour cooling-off period for excessive use. Loan features in the app must also be disabled once the account is activated. The BSP is also banning financial institutions and their employees from participating in online gambling activities to maintain public trust. Platform operators must meet strict rules on licensing, ownership disclosure, and money laundering compliance. Violators may face fines of up to 1 million pesos and possible license revocation. The rules take effect 15 days after publication, with a 6-month window to comply.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, the chief of the Energy Regulatory Commission and some of her staff have resigned. A businessman's group says replacements should come soonest to prevent disruptions. We have the details of that when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back to the big story. More than 11 million pesos. That's how much the government of the Philippines is planning to charge China with for environmental damage its vessel caused on coral reefs near Pag-asa Island. Video from the Philippine Coast Guard showed the canopy of a parachute-style anchor enveloping reefs near Pag-asa Island 9 meters underwater. According to the Palawan Council for Sustainable Development, or PCSD, these were left by a Chinese maritime militia vessel that got stranded in the island due to bad weather on June 7. Further assessment showed that sea waves caused the anchor to destroy 30% or more than 464 square meters of the corals in the area. That's why the PCSD and PCG insist that China should pay. China is yet to issue a statement on the matter.
Parachute itself is not an illegal act, right? No, but the misuse or the well, let's just say the incident that happened caused the dragging of the chute. No, so and it's still causing damage up to now.
So we're hopeful that through the Department of Foreign Affairs, we can be able to reach out to them and to present to them the damages that they incurred because of that grounding incident.
In other news, the chief of the country's energy regulatory body has resigned, and the newly minted communications chief hits the ground running in his first week in office. Malacanang confirms that Energy Regulatory Commission Chair Mona Lisa de Malanta has tendered her irrevocable resignation. The palace did not say why she quit. De Malanta's term is supposed to end in 2029. Her resignation now leaves 3 ERC positions vacant following the completion of the 7-year terms of Commissioners Alexis Lumbatan and Catherine Maceda. In a statement, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or PCCI, has urged the administration to hasten the appointment of new ERC officials. The lack of quorum, the group said, hampers the regulatory body's core functions.
Now, speaking of energy, President Marcos administered the oath of office today to Energy Secretary Sharon Garin. She has been the officer in charge since May. Malacanang announced her permanent appointment last week. Also taking his oath again, this time in front of President Marcos, is Presidential Communications Office Chief Dave Gomez. Gomez said he has begun conducting a performance audit of the agency, revisiting policies that include media accreditation and presidential coverage. He reiterated that his agency will focus on the president's agenda and not on the political turmoil surrounding his boss. Asked by reporters for comment about Rustan's executive, Paolo Tantoco, who died 4 months ago of cocaine overdose, Gomez only had this to say.
That's a private matter. I cannot comment on that.
Meanwhile, at the upper chamber, Senator Loren Legarda evaded questions about the formation of the Veterans Bloc and whether she will continue being a member of the minority bloc. Legarda said her focus right now is climate change, but she admits being in talks with Senator Tito Sotto, who is reportedly gunning for either the Senate presidency or leadership of the minority bloc.
Pa kaming desisyon, pero kung kami ay nag-uusap, madalas kami mag-usap at maraming planong magaganda para sa ating bansa. Kaya anuman ang tawag nyo sa amin, ay ang mahalaga ang trabaho. Dapat yung ating pagka-vulnerable na tinatawag, dapat yung ating pag-akma ng ating pamumuhay ayon sa mga bagyo at baha. Ang tagal-tagal na nangyari ito pero hindi pa nasasagip ang marami sa atin. Kaya yan ang aking prioridad. Hindi pagtatatag ng mga bloke o paghahanap ng pangalan. At yan ay darating din dahil 2 weeks na lang. Kaya ang tabanan, o baka even before then, ay masagot ko kayo.
Legarda also refused to answer if the Veterans Bloc is indeed in the process of recruiting members or if they are already talking about the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte.
Yan ay maririnig mo sa July 28. Yes, bakit mo ko minamadali? Hindi muna ako sasagot tungkol sa impeachment or sasagot tungkol sa bloke. Kung tanong nyo ay yung pagbabago ng klima at paano yung ating aksyon dito ay makakatulong sa mga kababayan natin, okay sa akin.
And now we circle back to our top story today. Police officers tagged in the case of missing Sabongeros. And tasked to police the PNP, the Napolcom again has its hands full. We now speak to Napolcom Vice Chairperson and Executive Officer, Commissioner Rafael Calinisan. Good evening to you, sir, and welcome to the Big Story. The top official charged is Jacinto Molino. Am I right, sir?
I think the surname is Malinaw.
Malinaw. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. What rank would he have and what responsibilities does he hold?
I can mention the name. He's a police colonel. But as to the other details, I apologize. I could not reveal more details as far as that. Sinabi na ni Totoy yung pangalan niya, so kaya ko nang banggitin yung pangalan ni Colonel Malinaw.
Okay. A busy day for you today.
Yes.
But,
that's an understatement.
Pero I'd like to zero in on this possible intersection, as Justice Secretary Remulla called it, of the Duterte drug war and the missing Sabongeros case. Can you elaborate?
I would love to. However, I could not, Ces, because we are wearing two hats. One is the investigator's hat, which we have been doing so for the past couple of weeks. But the second hat I'm also wearing is that I will be one of those who will decide this case. So I don't want to preempt my judgment or to reveal my cards. I don't want to prejudge this. So siguro ito na lang. Yung aspetong yon is sinisilip din ng Napolcom. Pero as for me to elaborate on that, humingi ako ng tawad sa'yo. But yes, I confirm that we're looking into that angle as well.
Paano natuntun yon? When I remember before, parang blank wall kayo dyan sa drug war. Because of testimonies by some inside people? Paano po?
Hindi. Siguro, ito rin siguro sagot ko dyan. Prior to my assumption, walang nag-iimbestiga on the drug war here in the National Police Commission. Pero ngayon na nandito tayo, this is my second month, Ces, we're investigating everything. So lahat ng anything that concerns police abuse, we're looking into it. So, which includes possibly the drug war and of course the Sabongeros case.
So having said that, Attorney Kalinisan, it's also possible na coincidence lang ito at the cases are actually not related at all.
It's possible, but of course, di ako nagsasalita ng tapos. We're digging deep. Nasabi na rin naman ni Secretary Rimulya his analysis on this. We take note of it and we're actually looking into it. So yun lang kaya kong sabihin na as far as we are concerned right now.
And yung mga nakasuhan today administratively, may kinalaman po ba ito dun sa mga feelers that you were saying? I believe that was a week and a half ago. Are they in any way connected? Yung mga information that came out today from alias Totoy at yung mga nagpapadala ng feelers sa office ninyo?
Yes, they are connected at hindi pa tapos yung mga feelers na nagpapadala sa ating opisina. So tuloy-tuloy pa rin. So hopefully after I read all of these affidavits, ang dami. Isa lang yung affidavit ni alias Totoy pero let us not forget, meron pang affidavits yung kasama rin ni alias Totoy kanina. At we have to read all of them. At kakasimula lang natin at kanina kakatapos lang nung filing, ngayon lang medyo nakakaupo sa mesa natin and we're currently reading the affidavits right now.
Well, Attorney, you did mention that you will be serving as one of the judges in this case, in this administrative investigation. But I'm curious, what kind of evidence do you need to establish grave abuse on the part of the policeman?
Substantial evidence po ang kinakailangan, assuming na the case will be finally filed. So right now, a complainant has filed his case with the Napolcom. Pero we will still evaluate whether or not to proceed with this case or not. So pwede naming ibasura to, pwede naming i-refer ito, pwede naming ituloy-tuloy ito. Sasagutin din natin yung iba pang respondents dito. So from there, if there is merit with the case that has been filed, a formal charge will ensue. Papasagutin natin uli yung mga respondents dito, hearings will be conducted, after which the Commission and Bank will decide on this case.
But Attorney, in your initial investigation, have you taken a look already on the money trail, itong petty cash vouchers na binabanggit ni alias Totoy, ni Julie Patidongan, na natanggap daw ng mga police officers?
Yes, we're also looking into it. In fact, I can say that it's part of what he has submitted.
Attorney, eventually though, this administrative case will have to take a back seat to the main case, which is kidnapping or eventually upgraded should the remains be found to be connected to the case. How will this work out? Kasi parang sabay mangyayari po yun.
What do you mean take a back seat?
The main case against the policemen, if they were indeed suspects in the missing Sabongeros case, aside from what I mean is the main case that the DOJ prosecutors will file against them.
Again, there's no contest. There are two main cases that will be possibly filed. One of which is a admin case, which we are doing right now.
Right.
And the second is the criminal case.
Yes.
Both cases are separate and distinct from each other. So yung pong pagpa-file ng admin, wala pong kinalaman, or there's some relation, but we are not tied up by the findings of the criminal case that would be filed, nor neither is the criminal cases a condition before the admin cases should be resolved first. Wala pong ganun. Pwede pong ano po yun, sabay po yun, pwedeng mauna yung isa, malamang pangako na kami pang unang matapos.
But you wanted this done expeditiously para meron ng wheels of justice na kumbaga umiikot na. Ganun po ba?
Tama po. On trial po dito, hindi lang po yung mga police officers. On trial din po dito yung institutions of government, one of which is the National Police Commission. Sabi ko nga po, candidly, bago po tayo sumampa dito, medyo may katagalan po mga kaso. Dekada po ang mga kaso na inabutan po natin dito at may backlog. Sa unang buwan po natin, isa po sa mga unang utos natin is zero backlog by December 2025. And the other one is all new cases must be disposed of after 60 days, within 60 days. So, dataon po, ang unang-unang kasong lumapag sa aming mesa ay yung sabong case. So, yung pong declaration namin na cases should be resolved within 60 days came before the sabong issue. So, ito po, magkakasubukan ho tayo dito. A very complicated case. Hopefully, matapos po namin in 60 days. Kung pumalya kami ng konti, 70, 80 days, patawad po ng konti. Pero, marching order po talaga natin dito 60 days.
Okay, ano yung approach ninyo? I was gonna ask nga about the 60-day timeline. You just mentioned you have a lot of affidavits and not just the one from alias Totoy or Julie Patidongan on your table. I'm assuming, attorney, galing to dun sa mga family members na kasama niya kanina kasi sila rin yung nag-file ng administrative complaints, right? How does this tie into yung cast of characters ng mga police na pinangalanan ni Totoy with the 15 na naka-hold dun sa Camp Crame? Are they the same, guys?
Yun nga I'm reading the affidavit right now. It appears, siguro, sana tama math ko, I think there are 80 names here. I will double check. So, di ako sure kung itong 15 is subsumed into the 18. I'm not sure if the 18 are all in active service. Malamang may mga dismissed dito. So, I'll do my assignment first. I'll check. Pero kung meron mang naka-restrictive custody doon sa Philippine National Police, so be it. That is their prerogative. Yung elbow room ni General Torre must be there. And we should not forget that these are still policemen. Kung anong order ng Chief PNP, dapat sila sumunod.
Just a clarification, sorry. Yung affidavit ba galing lang kay Totoy at pamilya or were there other witnesses? Just to clarify.
There's an affidavit from Totoy. There are affidavits from family members. And I heard a while ago from Totoy that he's expecting other affidavits to come. Okay. And if I may also, nagsabi pa si Totoy na mga iba-ibang pangalan kanina na wala dito sa affidavit Ang dami. Siguro I can see at least 3 other names na binanggit niya kanina na wala dito.
Police officers, you mean? Police personnel?
2 police officers and 1 politician. Yung iba kasing
But hindi na-covered ng Napolcom yung politician, right?
No, we don't cover it. That is beyond our jurisdiction.
Right.
Pero dun sa affidavit, nagbabanggit din siya ng mga pangalan.
Okay.
Binubuo niya yung kwento.
Pero sino po ba, sorry to interrupt kasi we also have little time, but who are the other witnesses that Totoy will bring? Sino po ba
That I don't know. That I don't know, ma'am. So, sabi niya kanina, yung mga ibang police daw na involved. So, let's see. I have yet to see their affidavits.
So, yung rough count niyo right now, Attorney Kalinisan, alam ko, very, very early days. Pero, nasa mga 18 different names yung meron ka ng mga police officer. Exclude na natin muna yung mga politicians since outside the purview yun ng opisina ninyo.
Yes, pero to clarify also, even those dismissed police officers, we don't have jurisdiction anymore. So, kaya importante yung speed for example, nag-retire na to, o nag-resign, o previously dismissed. Those people, wala na kaming jurisdiction. They must be in the active service. and a formal charge must first be filed against them.
But
That
if
is also
they have pending, like retirement pay or something, pwedeng i-hold yun, di ba? Kung meron silang...
Hindi. The jurisdiction must first attach kung active ka. Kung nag-retire ka na, say, for example, active ka, nakasuhan ka, then nag-retire ka, pwedeng natin i-hold yung pay. In fact, pwede natin i-forfeit. Part ng powers ng Napolcom yun. Pero kung nagsimula yung kaso na wala ka na sa serbisyo, wala kaming jurisdiction doon. Yun ang problem area for admin cases.
So yung mga pangalan, attorney, na hawak na somehow dumating sa inyo, no? Yung mga politicians, kung sino-sino outside your jurisdiction of active police members, ipapass nyo na lang sa DOJ yon.
Yes, correct. That is correct. Hindi kami ang hari as far as criminal cases are concerned. That is the Department of Justice's territory. And we are cooperating with all law enforcement agencies to include the Department of Justice.
Attorney, earlier, I believe you also mentioned, earlier in the day, you mentioned that some people, individuals, have been trying to reach your office, give information through creative ways. What does that mean, Attorney? And does that mean, aside from Julie Patidongan and the families of the victims, there are other witnesses, people who have information, have come forward already?
Oo, totoo. Ang daming even entities which should not be reaching out to me have been reaching out to me. And totoo niyan, nakakabahala. Pero let's just say na wala tayong katatakutan.
May affidavit na ba nga nakuha from these nagpapadala ng feelers? Or wala pa?
Sana nga mayroong magpadala eh. Gaya niyan, si alias Totoy, kinall out natin because he's been speaking out to the media for the longest time. Diba? Araw-araw na ginawa ng Diyos, nasa media siya. So when we called him out, he filed his affidavit, albeit 2 weeks after. Kung meron mang iba pa na nagpapadala ng creative feelers sa atin, ipapilan nyo. Kasi di pwede yung kwentong barbero dito. We're talking about the lives of people here. We're talking about careers of policemen. Tayuan nyo kung may gusto kayong sabihin.
Paano ba kayong mahanap?
Dito lang naman ho kami. Nasa Napolcom po, napakalaking building ho. Kulang na lang yung bat signal natin, di ba ho? Pero they can easily find us.
Okay.
National Police Commission, EDSA, Corner, Quezon Avenue.
All right, thank you so much. Now, we want you to go back to your work, your task ahead of looking over the pile of affidavits. Thank you so much for your time, Attorney. That was Napolcom Vice Chairperson and Executive Officer Commissioner Rafael Calinisan.
We're going to be pausing for another quick break, but when we return, rental rates in Metro Manila have just become so much cheaper for a few reasons. We'll be speaking to a top real estate broker when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. Despite condo unit sales picking up in the second quarter, rental rates across Metro Manila are still on the decline. This is the steepest in the area where most POGO hubs were located before. According to a report by Lichu Property Consultants, rental value in Pasay's Bay Area dropped by 6% to 856 pesos per square meter. In comparison, condo rates in Makati slid by 4%, BGC by 2%, and Ortigas also by 2%. Alabang's value ticked up by 1%. Today's rental rates in the Bay Area are a far cry from POGO's heyday of 1,707 pesos per square meter in the first quarter of 2020. LPC reported condo unit sales in Metro Manila this quarter advanced by 2% to 6,643 from 6,508. Office space is slowly being filled up as well. The market has picked up 740,000 square meters in the first half, already hitting 67% of 2024's 1.1 million. That's a lot of numbers. To dissect developments in the country's property market, we turn to the CEO and co-founder of Lichu Property Consultants, David Lichu. Hi, David. Welcome to The Big Story. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me in your show, ma'am.
Yeah. So actually, there's bad news and good news. If I'm right,
yeah.
Office space is actually reaching pre-2017 figures, if I'm not, if
Yes.
my facts are straight, but rental rates still on the decline. Can you give us a better picture of what's
Yeah,
going
so
on out there?
yes, ma'am. So first, maybe before we go into too much detail, I just want to frame this properly that the Philippines is still doing very, very well. It's one of the most graceful office and residential markets in the world because most property markets in the world are being shredded right now by a
Graceful? Did you
number of
say graceful?
graceful, yes. The property market in the Philippines is performing gracefully.
Okay.
And I'll explain why. So because demand for office is quite healthy, the demand for high-end residential is quite healthy, the demand for the low-end residential is quite healthy. Malls are back at pre-pandemic levels. Hotel occupancy could be better, but it could be a whole lot worse. And the problem in the property market in the Philippines is isolated to just Metro Manila condo market in the mid-end, only in the mid-end. And by mid-end, I'm talking about units from 3 to 20 million pesos, 3 million to 20 million pesos. And it's like that. There's a problem in the mid-end because of the oversupply, and the oversupply happened because COVID delayed a lot of projects, and so a lot of these buildings were completed at the same time that produced the oversupply. And then post-COVID, we went through a global inflation phase where inflation went out of control. And as a response to that, central banks around the world increased and hiked interest rates. So all these things kind of choked the middle class all around the world. The Philippines is not an exception. And despite that, property prices are holding across most segments. The high end is growing between 3 to 5% a year, considering that most markets in the world are declining rapidly. And demand overall is quite healthy. The capital values in the middle end condos have come down by 25% because of this oversupply and because of the desire for developers to offload the stock and move it. And then in the office sector, the demand has been the strongest we've seen in 6 years. And that is extremely encouraging. And this is normal demand, meaning the drivers are still BPOs and traditional businesses, no POGOs. There has been some PIGO activity, but not much. And because of that, rents are starting to bottom out. And in places like BGC, Bonifacio, rents are starting to climb. And it's just a matter of time before the market absorbs all the supply. I guess that will be about 3 years.
Would you say it's a buyer's market then, David?
It definitely is a buyer's market. So this is what this is what I'm trying to harp to the public, which is when prices were going up, everyone's complaining that it was unaffordable and expensive, etc. Now that prices have come down 30%, purchase prices, sale prices, and rents have come down by as much as 50% in most markets. What the hell are we waiting for? This is once in a 10-year moment where you can lock in rents for 5-10 years at very low rates.
Baka kasi daw bumaba pa.
Yeah.
Well, yes, there's that mindset. So we think that there's 3 years more of this downward trend. It's not everywhere. For example, Makati has stopped falling. BGC has stopped falling in the condo space. So there is softening and it's finding a floor now. So you might want to take a position as early as now for Makati and condo and BGC condos. But the Bay, Ortigas area, Alabang, Pasig area, condo mid-end, again, I have to stress this, condo mid-end I think there's going to be further softening.
To what would you attribute the healthy, as you said, we've never seen this number in 6 years, the office lease take-up? That should be a good sign for the economy as well, right?
Yeah, because the Philippines is blessed to be a counter-cyclical market. When the world goes into problems, the world produces more jobs in the Philippines. The other market that's like this is India, because both India and the Philippines are the core markets for outsourcing. So every time a CEO in the US or Europe looks at the next 3 to 5 years and they're not seeing any top line growth, they're not seeing any profit growth, the only way that they can show margins is by cutting costs. And part of that cost-cutting measures is moving jobs to Philippines and India and moving operations to India. And this is despite AI. I know everyone is talking about AI and how that's going to ravage jobs. It is ravaging some jobs, not all jobs. And the rate of jobs created because of offshoring to Philippines and India is greater than the jobs being ravaged by AI. Second is that work from home has not ravaged this market the way it has ravaged most markets in the world. I mean, you look at Chicago, San Francisco, New York, Berlin, London, you've got prime buildings for sale at 50, 60, 80% discount from 2019 prices, and nobody's buying, okay? Here in the Philippines, I have landlords, clients who own buildings that have been 50% vacant, 40% vacant for 5 years, and they still turn down tenants. What does that tell you? It tells you that they're not distressed. They're not distressed because their core business is doing well. They have been very frugal. They have very balanced fiscal situations. And that's why they're not distressed to sell or to bend to the market forces. And that's a very healthy sign. Yes, we did have, yes?
Yes, I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned inflation and the Bangko Sentral. With inflation down now, how is this looking for at least yung mga lease offers or long-term lease financing offers for mid-end condos here in Metro Manila? Just to get people to buy.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Interest rates are going to keep coming down. As far as the central bank can sustain, because we cannot fight the US Fed, right? For as long as the Fed rates are high, the rest of the world have to kind of approximate their interest rates. So this is the few times that the Philippines can afford to fight the Fed. And so we're bringing interest rates down faster than the US is bringing it down. Why? Because the West has got an inflation problem. The Philippines and the developing world do not. So if our inflation rates are sub 2%, the inflation rate in the US is higher than 2%. So it's a weird situation to be in. It's never happened before. Next, interest rates in the Philippines are at 6 or 7% if you want to take a real estate mortgage. 6 to 7% fixed for 2-3 years. Yeah. In the US, it is 6% also. So the borrowing cost, real estate borrowing cost in the US, 6%, Philippines 6%, never happened before.
Yeah.
There used to be a very big spread.
Right.
I mean, it is so the world is in a very weird space, a place in many sense, in a number of ways. But
can the BSP still afford to cut rates?
I think they've been very prudent. They've been very independent. They've not been populist, and so they will do the right thing. They're the best people to say whether they can fight the Fed or not, whether they can sustain low interest rates or not. Thankfully, the situation in the Middle East has not been escalating, and that has controlled inflation throughout the world. That's a very, very good thing. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, lastly, David, you did say it is an ideal time to enter the market. So what advice would you give potential home buyers in finding the right property for them? Because there is an oversupply.
Yes. So borrow money when you are more or less comfortable with your recurring income. If you cannot borrow money because you're not sure about your recurring income, whether that's your salary or your bonuses or your stock options or your dividends, then I suggest you take this time and lock in a 10-year lease somewhere. Okay? Because prices are so cheap and it's not always going to be like this. Yes, it's going to keep falling for a few more quarters. But there's a saying in investment, it's very hard to catch the bottom or to catch the peak, right? But for the next 10 years, it's a great time to rent. And I suggest you do that. And where is the best opportunity right now? And people keep asking me. So the real opportunity is in stocks like JG Summit, in Ayala Land, in SM Prime, because they are trading at some really ridiculously low valuations today. Some of the lowest we've seen in 25, 30 years. And you should buy meaningfully in the stock market today in good quality brand.
Get
REITs.
You can also look at the REITs, yeah. You look at the way Ayala REIT has performed and the Robinsons REIT has performed. It's been fantastic. And I don't understand why people aren't buying more.
Okay, huwag ka na lang bumili ng bahay. Mag-invest ka na lang ng
property
stocks.
Oo, tsaka sa REITs.
Okay.
Yes.
Alright.
Actually, gusto ko itanong bakit yung mga high-end, no, hindi nauubusan ng bumibili?
Baka,
no?
what would you advise Pawi? Because, you know, she might be looking for...
She's a young investor.
Yes.
From Metro Manila.
Yeah. Saan? Saan dapat?
For what? Like to
start
what,
a new
to buy?
Home. Yeah.
I would really load up in JG Summit stock and SM Prime stock and Ayala Land stock.
What about what about city? Like
property?
Makati, BGC, Pasig.
Always BGC and Makati.
Okay.
You need that in your portfolio, and do not live in it. Rent it out. Do not live in it. Rent it out. And that's the only way you can like Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad said, you know, don't own where you live. You rent where you live, and you own your investment property so that you can rent it out and generate cash flow. Because that's what we need. Once you're done with your cash flow portfolio, then you can start investing in idle land that will not generate cash for you.
Okay.
Because you want to ride the capital appreciation. And then Alabang. Oh my God, Alabang is just ridiculously cheap. Please, anything in Alabang, just buy anything in Alabang. And over time, huh? No, of course not.
It's so crowded now in Alabang.
What
Everyone's
about
moving
Indang
there.
Cavite?
Where in Alabang do you go? Baka you hang out in the wrong places in Alabang. My gosh.
All right, well, thank you so much. We were just saying that you look like you belong to the set of, what's that?
American Idol.
What?
I love the lighting.
Yeah, the lighting, the couch.
Yeah, who's that guy again?
Simon
Cowell.
Cowell.
That's a compliment, by the way.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
David
Thank you.
Lichu, CEO and co-founder of Lichu Property Consultants.
All right, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you so much for watching The Big Story.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
We'll be back here tomorrow at 7:30 as usual. Did you take notes, Pawi?
I did. Oh, and before we go, we need to say happy birthday, of course, to our boss, the one and only MVP, Manny V. Pangilinan. Happy birthday po.
That's right, today, no?
Today,
Yes.
July 14.
14. Okay, well,
Mabait talagang mga cancer.
Oh.
paano yung mga Leo?
Pwede na rin, a close second.
Kami fun kami, di ba?